Okay, now I'm recording. Can you
Okay.
see? Do you know that? Can you see I'm recording?
Yes. So first, let us, on behalf of my colleagues, thank you very much on being ready to give this very important presentation that will contribute to enhancing the quality of the drama work the teachers are going to contribute in the drama competition. So thank you very much. And what a powerful title, Speaking from the Heart. This is
Well, thank you very much. This is really how I feel about everybody in the world, not least of all of you people where you are right now. We have to tell our story to the world. That's the thing. And drama is a great way to do this. And that's what you're all engaged in. Are you all teachers of one of these little dramas?
Yes, the teachers here are involved in the drama clubs and they are participating in the drama competition.
Okay.
And is recorded, so it will be shared with all the teachers, so everybody can get benefit.
Everything I'm going to say concerns the drama kind of approach, but also any other use in English language class. But I'm going to speak particularly with reference to the dramas that you are doing. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we'll go now to the PowerPoint, and we don't have to stay with that because getting to the heart of connected speech. Mm-hmm. So first, connected speech kind of seems like a mystery, but I want to show you that it isn't a mystery. That there is a kind of operating system behind it, and that with just 5 steps, you can do a lot about getting fluent, meaningful, connected speech with your groups. And you have a very, very good opportunity because you are, with your drama classes, you are dealing with short plays which have already given what the English is. You are dealing with a certain set number of words. So this is a very good way to work. Now, let me just say something about the choice of language. We all know about Shakespeare and stuff like that, but it's not clever to go for sophisticated language. This is kind of a not clever thing to do in English. What is clever is to go for direct, natural language at the level of the speaker, so they can really put their heart into it. Mm-hmm. So the speaker needs to be able to speak from the heart and not battle with the language. You can't speak from the heart when you're falling over the language.
No, you're struggling with the language, yes.
It's kind of obvious, but there's nothing wrong with simple English. A lot of popular drama today is in very simple English. So I just want to make that clear, that the English that ends up in the dramas that you're doing with your classes should be really suitable to their level. Does anyone want to comment on that? So this is the next point, to have a voice in the world. And I was in the Ministry of Education in Ramallah, and in there was the Minister of Education and some others, and somebody said, why are we teaching English in Palestine? And the reply was, so we can tell our story to the world. What a great reason. What a great reason. So look, to have a voice in the world, there are 2 things to remember. Number 1, speak from the heart. That means the language has got to be suitable so that the heart can speak through it. Nothing complicated, like I said. Number 2, to be comfortably intelligible. 2 things. To be comfortably intelligible. Comfortable intelligibility is the new correct. The new correct means being understood comfortably. So that's kind of a different way of looking at stuff. It doesn't mean being absolutely grammatically correct. That's always cool, and as teachers, that's what we're trying to do, of course. And it doesn't mean being absolutely correct in pronunciation. You have to have your own accent. It's authentic. It's part of you. But it means being intelligible. And not just intelligible, but intelligible without a struggle. So that's what I'm looking at. And what I want to stress today is that comfortable intelligibility is more to do with connected speech than it is to do with particular individual phonemes and sounds. Okay? Connected speech rather than sound. Sounds comes into it, and when I come, I hope I will come to see you all in March. We will look at all this. But for the moment, the message is this: 5 steps to connected speech. Okay? So here we go. We're going to take a text and we're going to go through those 5 steps. The first step is select a short piece of text. In other words, a paragraph of one of the plays that you are working with, or a couple of sentences. You don't have to do this with the whole play, but do it with bits. And if it's not a play, then do it with a bit of the text from the course book. Second, here are the 5 steps, and this is what we're going to go through. And this is what I did when Ridder and some others of you came to London earlier this year. Number 1, we look at the text and we find the sense groups, which is the words that go together. And between the words that go together, there's a pause. In fact, that's how I'm speaking to you now. Mm-hmm. I'm speaking to you in sense groups. And between each sense group, I'm pausing. And inside each sense group, I'm not pausing at all. All the words are connected. Now, this is a really good beginning. It enables your students to join words together and speak as rapidly as they wish, but it helps to give meaning because they pause at the end of the sense groups. So I was speaking in that way just now. Second, that to find the stressed syllables. In English, more than in most other languages, the stressed syllables are so important. I just said the stressed syllables, the stressed syllables. You think I'm speaking very clearly, perhaps, but I only stressed one syllable, the stressed syllables, the first word, the nearly nothing, the stressed, that was stressed, syllables. You know, I'm almost mumbling, the stressed syllables. It sounds clear, but actually when you listen to it, there's only one word which has length and volume, and that one syllable, and that is stress, the stressed syllables. So to have stress, you have to have unstress, and that's what's the tricky thing for most language learners and most languages in the world who have different systems of unstressing. English has an unstressed system which almost disappears the syllable. That's what you have to get hold of. It's not cool to give extra stress to unstressed syllables because nobody can understand. We need unstress. So you've heard that, you know that, but we have to work on that the whole time. And the great place to work on it is when you've got a limited amount of text, like in a mini drama that you're doing. Perfect place to help the kids you're working with both to be comfortably intelligible and to develop their own voice in the world so they can speak from the heart. Number 3 is the unstressed syllables, finding them and identifying them and knowing how do you unstress them. Basically, you unstress them by using usually, not always, one of 2 vowel sounds, which I've given there. Oh, I can show you, look, they're there. Can you see my cursor moving? Mm-hmm. You see that?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, so as you know, that is the sound You just say it.
Yeah.
Say it, all of you. Say But say it with very little energy. No, just say it.
Yeah.
And this one, which is also very short, is I.
Yes.
So those are the 2 which are most of the unstressed syllables. I should say there's 70% of them between them, and we'll come to that. The next thing is to connect the words inside the sense group, and finally speak from the heart. Now we're going to do these 5 steps with one of your texts. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Okay.
So, does anybody want to have any question or, want to say anything?
So are the steps clear? Yeah, clear.
Okay. Here I say leave space. That means leave space in your speaking, like I'm doing now.
So you speak in chunks, not in pronouncing words separately, or just saying the sentence all at once.
I think that's a very good way to put it. Speak in chunks.
Yeah.
And it's not the only way to leave space, because, for example, I could speak a lot clearly, but a bit more slowly, like this. And when I'm speaking to you at this speed, I'm actually able to think more clearly what I'm saying and to speak with more presence. And the emphasis for they're not, are they kids you're working with? I call them kids, but perhaps I should call them students or pupils. What is the best word for people you work with?
They are kids.
Okay. So with the kids that you're working with are tempted to go fast.
Yeah. Yes. To prove that they are fluent, and that's a problem. Yeah.
When you go fast, several things happen. Number one, you lose intelligibility.
Yeah.
Number two, you lose the contrast of stress and unstress.
Mm-hmm.
Number three, you lose presence. You become a talking machine, not a human being.
Yeah, exactly.
And number four, when you're going too fast, you cannot speak from the heart.
Mm-hmm.
The heart doesn't go that fast.
Yeah.
The heart goes slower. So these are reasons, and when we go into the technicalities of how you do this, you'll see how to help your students to slow down and maximize their personal impact, their voice in the world, speaking from the heart. That's the point of all of this. Yeah. Okay. Here's the text, which is, I know, from a previous year, last year maybe. And we're just taking these words. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you're all familiar with that one.
Yeah.
There's nothing different or better or worse about this. It's just an example that I took.
Uh-huh.
And I think this is, in this case, spoken by just one person, but it doesn't matter. Everybody will practice it.
Yeah.
So here we are. Now, the first step, what was the first step? Do you remember?
Yeah.
What is it?
Since the groups.
Yeah?
Sense group?
Sense groups. Now, the sense group means the words which go together. Where do you think is the first sense group in this text here? Where shall we make it? Tell me, I can't hear you clearly, but tell me, which is the first sense group?
For example, for me, you can, you might stop after but I have a different dream. So we have a pause after I have. I might be wrong, you can correct me.
Okay.
But I have a different dream.
Okay, anybody else have a different view?
Any other different point of but I have a different dream. So Adrian, how we say it all at once, like, but I have a different dream?
Well, the first thing to say is there is no correct and incorrect.
Yeah.
What counts is what you want to say. We are now already talking about meaning. Now,
so let's try pronouncing it in different ways. So
let's try.
Started like but.
Let's put a sense group there. So we say but
I have a different dream.
You're putting one there as well. Let's try but, and then all of this as the second sense group. But I have a different dream. Try it, everybody.
Yeah. But I have a different dream.
And now let's try it as all one sense group, which is something like, but I have a different dream. Try that.
But I have a different dream. So you're stressing the I here?
Well, at the moment, we are not yet deciding exactly where to put the stress, but you're right.
Just sensing groups, yeah.
You're right that when we play with, as soon as we play with sense groups, we're already playing with the stress.
Okay, okay.
For the moment, just to keep it nice and straightforward, what we're going to do is to take that as the first sense group.
Nice.
Okay. Now, when you're working with sense groups, you can also say to the kids, look, tell me, I'm going to give you some examples. Tell me if it is a sense group or a nonsense group.
Okay.
So you tell me sense or nonsense. But I have a...
No, it doesn't work here.
Doesn't work, does it? It's nonsense.
Nonsense.
But how about, but I have a different...
Nonsense too.
Nonsense.
Yeah.
So you can play with the idea of sense group by giving them nonsense groups, and then quickly they get the idea.
Yeah.
However, as you rightly said, we could have, but I have a different dream. That would work. That's two sense groups. Or I'm not sure about, but I have a different dream. That's more awkward.
No.
Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that one, okay?
We either say it all at once or stop after but, then say, but I have a different dream.
I would say that
yep.
I have.
It's but I have, and we stop just to let the audience expect what we are going to say and wait. But I have
a different dream.
Different dream.
So I'm not sure about this now. So that's what I had at the beginning.
So the point is that both can be correct. It depends what you want to say. And for the moment, I'm saying let's take all of that as the first sense group. Now, where shall we have the second sense group?
In the second sentence?
Yeah, where it begins here. Where shall the second sense group finish?
For me, I would prefer to say it like, I want to be a famous designer all at once.
Yeah, I think it finishes all at once. And in this case, and this often happens, by the way, you follow the punctuation in this case.
Yeah.
Doesn't always happen because sometimes we need to break it up smaller than the punctuation. But here, these phrases are already very short, and therefore we're able to follow the punctuation. Second sense group, I want to be a famous designer. Third sense group?
I like you. We can stop after like. I like making clothes and designs because you cannot stop after making clothes. So making clothes and designs, this is one chunk, I guess. So we can stop after like to emphasize what is coming.
You can stop there in the same way as we stopped. Stop there.
It sounds natural.
For the moment, and for the purposes just of this exercise, let's take the whole one as a sense group. I like making clothes and designs. What's the third one? Starts here.
Yeah.
Where will you finish? Here?
And some you can stop after you and before Grandpa. I promise you, Grandpa.
Yes, you could do. That would be quite nice and dramatic, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I promise you.
For the moment, we'll stop here. And the next sense group?
You will wear my first design.
Yep. And the last one?
I'll be a fabulous. It'll be a fabulous suit.
Yeah. Okay. So look. There, I've put in the sense groups, and this is what you do with the kids. You take out the punctuation, and you stick in a vertical line. The kids can do it on their piece of paper, but you collect it on the board, so everyone is heads up, looking at the board. So that is step one.
Yeah.
But it is not the only correct possibility. There are many possibilities.
It depends on your message.
Yep. And one of the nice things is that you can change as you go along. Like any stage production, you can begin after a while to think, well, actually, it would be better phrased in a different way. And then you can change the sense groups. So there we've done the first part, a sense, divided into sense groups. Is that okay so far?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is anybody puzzled or mystified?
No, I guess perfect.
Okay. And what this gives us already is some signposting to the big text. We allow ourselves to pause between sense groups. So we've now got stopping points. But I have a different dream. I want to be a famous designer. I like making clothes and designs. And the thing about stopping here is the deal is that you don't stop here. You kind of keep it going. It doesn't mean quickly, it means that it's connected. But I have a different dream. Could be real slow, but I have a different dream. But it doesn't stop. Okay? So we are connecting up speech, but we've got nice places to pause. You can pause here as long as you want. You can pause here as long as you like. That gives time for the audience to hear and process, and for the speaker to get her next phrase connected up. Okay. Are you ready for the next step?
Yeah, right. Okay.
What is the next step? We've now got to work out where are the stresses. Now let's have a look at this first one. We are going to put in the stressed syllables. You tell me where they are. There's no absolute correct, but tell me where you would like to put the stressed syllables here.
Well, different.
Okay, whereabouts? Where do you want to put it here? Which syllable? This one? You want to put it here?
The first, I guess, the first syllable.
Okay. Could you all say this word with a stress on the first syllable?
But I have a different dream.
Okay. Only say this word only on its own.
Different.
Okay. Now it's not correct, but now put the stress
The second.
on the second syllable.
Different dream. Different.
It sounds something like different.
No.
Different, which is like it doesn't exist. This word.
Different.
Put the stress here on the third.
Different.
Different. Different. And again, the word doesn't exist. And if you say it, people don't understand it. So we have a stress there. Which other words, which are only one syllable, would you also put the stress on? For the meaning. For the meaning.
Dream.
I think you put one here.
Dream.
Because actually, these two words are the sort of focus of this sentence, but there's one other word.
But I have a different dream.
Well,
but I guess within the sentence, Adrian, we are stressing based on the context. We are stressing the word different.
That's right. We're working on the context, and there's no correct answer because it does depend on the meaning you want.
Based on the context, because I know the play and they want the character to have another dream or to have a whatever dream. She says, I have a different dream. So she's stressing the word different.
And the way that would be said, the most neutral way of saying it would be, but I have a different dream.
You can, stressing the I,
So there we are, 3 stresses. What about this one here?
I want to be a famous designer.
Okay. We know that it's going to be here because that's a word stress because it's got 2 syllables. So we know it has to be like that. Or what about here? This meeting has limited minutes. Is that true?
Yeah.
If it stops, we just start again in a moment afterwards. Is that okay? If we run out of minutes. I don't know if you can see this on your screen. It says that we have limited minutes for this Zoom meeting.
Okay.
So if it stops, I'll restart. I'll send you another email and we start again. Okay.
Okay.
I want to be a, so here we have a stress. And what about here?
Could be, yeah, right. Designer.
Designer, okay. So there's the stress. What about this sense group here?
I like making clothes and designs. So you can just like as a whole verb.
Okay. And here?
Making.
I
Making.
like making clothes and designs.
And here?
Yeah.
First or second?
I guess the second designs.
Okay. And what about this one here?
A promise.
Okay. So there, because it's also the word says, and here?
Promise you, Grandpa. Grandpa.
First syllable, yeah? Okay. And this one?
You will wear my first design. You will wear my first design.
Okay. Well, we know there's a stress there because that's a word stress, so that's easy. But which of these other one syllables shall we stress?
My first, yeah.
Could be that one, yes. And it could be, we might want to stress this.
You?
Yeah.
Not
You are,
anybody
the,
else.
you are the special lucky person that will wear.
Yeah. So
And finally?
it will be a fabulous suit.
Fabulous suit. Okay, so now on the next, we then mark these in with our students, and this is what we end up with. We've got a line under each stress.
Yeah.
This is not correct. This is just possible. We may decide to change these later.
Okay.
So there we have gathered together all the stresses. It could be done differently, but we have to start somewhere. So like it is now, it's, but I have a different dream. I want to be a famous designer. I like making clothes and designs. I promise you, Grandpa, you'll wear my first design. It'll be a fabulous suit. That's not the only way to do it, but it's one way to do it.
It's
Okay?
fabulous. It's good.
Now, here's the next thing. What we've got there is a mixture of one-syllable words, which you chose, and two-syllable words where there is, in any case, a word stress. You didn't have to choose that because the language tells you that it wants a stress. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You look up a two-syllable word in the dictionary, it will already tell you, here's the stress.
Yeah.
So now, this is the next bit. We have to decide which of these stresses are given by the language and which are wanted by the speaker, because it's the speaker stresses that are the important ones.
Yeah.
Now, which is going to be the speaker stress here?
So yeah.
Could be, I have a different dream. But if you do that, then this one is left, but I have a different dream.
Yeah.
But it could be, but I have a different dream, because then you're emphasizing what is the new information, but I have a different dream. It may be that this is going to be the speaker stress.
Yeah.
What about in the second one?
Mm-hmm. So I guess it is related to the speaker. Famous, it is language. It's given by the dictionary. You're stressing.
Yeah. But what is the most important? I want to be a famous designer, or I want to be a famous designer. What's the new information? Designer. And English, like many languages, tends to prefer the new information towards the end. So it's likely, it's not a rule, but it's likely that the speaker stress is towards the end. That's a stress. I want to be a famous designer. There's the real speaker stress. What about this one? I like making clothes, and probably it's going to be here again. I like making clothes and designs, but we'll see. What about here?
I promise you, Grandpa.
So are you going to put the speaker stress here or the speaker stress here? Well, if...
It's both. It depends.
It depends. If the person is already speaking to Grandpa, then it is not useful to already stress that. I promise you, Grandpa. But if the speaker is looking at 150 people
And just, yeah.
and wants to speak to Grandpa only, then it would make sense to do this one.
Yeah.
But probably there's only two of them there, the grandchild and the grandpa. What about this? I promise you, Grandpa.
Yeah. You.
Now, could be new information. More
First.
likely, it's going to be one of these. It's going to be first, isn't it? That's not really new information anymore. And finally,
it will be a fabulous suit. Fabulous, yeah.
It could be either. It'll be a fabulous suit if somehow suit has already been discussed, or if the suit is new information, then perhaps it'll be a fabulous suit. So none of these is right and none of them is wrong, but you have to get what feels right for the situation. Now look, we go to the next frame and you can see that I've marked that in, and I will get the students to mark as we go along. Then we put it on the board so it's heads up, and now we have this. And what you can see I've done is that the speaker stresses I've put in capitals. Now, speaker stress is important because that is where the main stress of that sense group is going to be, and that is where the intonation has the biggest change.
Okay.
So if you let's just try this together. We're going to read this, and when you get to the speaker stress, the blue one,
say it louder.
Take a little bit longer. So it's, but I have a different dream. Okay, do that with me.
Okay.
But I have a different dream. Once more. I have a different dream. And the next one, I want to be a famous designer. I like making clothes and designs. I promise you, Grandpa, you'll wear my first design. It'll be a fabulous suit. Now, what we've done here is to structure the text so that we've got the key stresses, which are the blue ones, and that is where the speaker is going to give real emphasis and take their time. The rest of the sense group has a structure because there's usually one or two other stresses which are kind of secondary. And then, of course, there's all the unstresses, which are going to be almost disappeared. So we're now beginning to make the structure of this sentence. Okay, so we made sense groups, then we found the stresses, and then we began to argue and discuss about where is the speaker stress, as I call it, and where are the other stresses. Now, you don't have to be right here. The great exercise here is getting our students to think about it and to feel that with their muscles and their lungs, they have a choice about where the stress goes and that it makes a difference to the meaning.
Yeah. So just one comment or a question, Adrian. So it depends on the attitude. So if the student or the teacher chose fabulous to stress, that may convey confidence and ambition on the future work as a designer. So that my work will be in the future fabulous. So I'm choosing fabulous. This shows something, or that I'm sure that I will be producing something elegant, or so it depends on. Sometimes, not all the times.
It depends.
That's right.
It's exactly what you say. It depends on
your attitude, lots of things. The message you want to convey.
It depends. You're right. It depends on your relationship, the speaker's relationship to the words. That is to say, which are the words that really bring out the deeper meaning of the speaker. And that also depends on the relationship of the speaker to the people that are being spoken to,
Uh-huh.
and the relationship of the speaker to any other listeners, like the audience.
Yeah, great.
So it's all about, it's a network of relationship and meaning.
Mm-hmm.
And in this, there aren't usually right and wrong answers, as we're saying, and as you've just said. Okay, so we've now done the first two steps. Let's go to the third step. What we need to do here now is to look at the unstresses. That's these ones. Now, do you remember that I said the most common unstressed sound is the sound
Oh, the schwa sound.
Yeah. Now, can you identify, and this, again, there's no right and wrong, but there's just likelihood. Can you identify which syllables you think might be schwa sound? What about this? But we know this one is stressed, so this one is going to be answered. But you listen to that first word. But it's just a schwa. It's not but. It's not but. It would be but if we're going to stress it. But in this particular version, we decided not to.
Yeah, the answer. And
There's
that,
schwa.
yeah.
What about this?
Schwa again. Yeah.
Well, again.
Yeah.
But I have. It could be have. It could be have. Maybe it is. But I have a. Maybe it's a small But what about this one here?
Yeah, schwa also.
Schwa. And this one?
Yeah. Two.
Again. Now, what about this?
Trim.
So that could be schwa and that could be schwa. But tell me, if we say this word fairly quickly, how many syllables?
I guess just two syllables different.
Just two. So probably it's different.
Different.
If we made it three, we could have different. It would be possible.
Natural, different.
Yeah. I want, that's not a schwa, that's o. What about this?
Two. Yeah, schwa.
Schwa. And now what about this? I want to be, I. That's the other typical unstressed sound, the I sound. So we've got the and the I.
Uh-huh.
To be, and what's this one here?
Schwa again.
Yeah, it's again. Yeah. So we've got to be to be a. Say
so
to be a.
Two sounds are merged in one.
Everything. Yeah. But they're all unstressed. So we've got I want to be a I want to be a famous. And you see, these are very, very small, but this is okay because this is longer and this is longer and this, of course, is very long. I want to be a famous designer. I want to be a. It's like almost nothing. But with the stresses, I want to be a famous designer. It all comes then to make sense. Can you just try that sentence? I want to be a famous designer. Try it. Say it.
I want to be a famous designer.
Yeah, and take your time here. Designer. I want to be a famous designer. Try it.
I want to be a famous designer.
Okay, so now we go forward and we finish that by deciding where is the schwa and where is the I, and now our paper and the board begins to look like this. But I have a different dream. I want to be a famous designer. I like making clothes and design. I promise you, Grandpa, there's nothing there. You'll wear my first design. It'll be a fabulous suit. Okay, so now what we've arrived at is a text where we've got three levels of energy. The blue, and there's usually only one in a sense group. The blue is long, the intonation is changing. That is the pivot, the focal point. If you get rid of everything else in the sense group, that is the bit that remains. The second level are also important because they are carrying the energy distribution. And they are stresses, but they are not the stresses on which a big intonation movement is taking place. They are a bit longer, they are a bit louder. And then the third level are all the unstresses, many of which are schwa and e. But they can also be other sounds like I want to be, I want, that's an o sound, but again, it's unstressed. It's useful to find the schwa sound because it's so frequent, it's so dependable, and it's so small. So that's what it looks like there. Now, that was number 3. Now we go to number 4, which is where we join the words together.
Yeah.
In fact, there aren't many. There's one here where there's a join bia, and the same again here, bia, where that sound comes in just to join it up. So now we're going to practice joining the words inside the sense group. And so it's like this. I get my students to say only the stressed syllables. I, diff, dream. I, diff, dream. Could you say that? I, diff, dream. Again. I, diff, dream. And now, here's the fun bit. I want you to whisper the unstressed syllables and speak the stressed syllables like you just did. It'll become like, but I have a different dream. Try it. Try it again. But I. So the idea there is to help students to become really aware that they are making a choice between energizing some syllables and de-energizing other syllables. And that they are doing that with their lung, the pressure in their lungs, which is what makes volume. And the other thing which they're doing, which makes a difference, is the length. They are stopping for longer on the stressed syllables. And then for the blue syllables, they're doing something even extra, which is allowing voice tone. We don't have to decide exactly how, but just allow the voice tone, the feeling to enter. So now we're going to do, just connect these up. And we can pause here. But I have a different dream. Can you repeat?
But I have a different dream.
And try to make unstressed all of the other syllables. But I have a different dream. Say it.
But I have a different dream.
Okay. I want to be a famous designer.
I want to be a famous designer.
I like making clothes and designs.
I like making clothes and designs.
I promise you, Grandpa.
I promise you, Grandpa.
You'll wear my first design.
You will wear my first design.
It'll be a fabulous suit.
It'll be a fabulous suit.
So we are there constructing each sense group, pausing between them, connecting the words inside them, not going too quickly, having the stressed syllables longer and louder, the unstressed syllables nearly disappearing. And this is the real tricky thing for your students, to nearly disappear those stressed syllables. And then the blue ones, that is the speaker stresses, we're giving an extra kind of feeling to. Then, step 5, we've now got the structure of the whole thing, and we then say to the students, now try to keep that structure in mind. Not so easy, but try. And speak from your heart. Now, that means go back into the meaning. So I say to my students, can you picture this dream? You are in the dream. You are a person with this dream of being a designer. Can you feel what it is like to have a dream to be a designer? You love clothes? Can you feel the clothes in your hands that you are making? Can you feel this sense of promise that you believe in yourself so much that you can make this promise? Can you feel what you're saying to your grandfather when you're saying, you, my grandfather, will have the first design? And can you feel your own joy, let us say, when you're saying, it's going to be a fabulous suit? Your complete belief in yourself. So I take time with the students to help them to build this internal picture. It's a picture which has an internal vision, because you can perhaps see the grandfather, see the clothes and so on, but it's a picture which has an internal feeling of the heart. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So in the first 4 steps, we were playing with the language to get it assembled technically. In this 5th stage, we are playing with the meaning. We're saying that language is technically arranged, more or less, and now put your heart into it. Speak from your heart.
Mm-hmm.
So I will, at this point, get students to be saying it aloud together, but I will also say, rehearse this inside your mind's ear, quietly, silently. Just listen to yourself internally saying it. Rehearse it internally.
Mm-hmm.
Hear with your inner ear how you want it to sound. And now I'm going to ask you to be a bit noisy, please, in your room there. If you can turn to your neighbor, I would like each of you to say just this text to your neighbor, who is for the moment the grandfather, okay? And you are going to say it with such heartfelt passion and clarity that grandfather will be astonished. Are you ready? Please turn to your neighbor and do that.
When my first design will be a fabulous suit. Definitely, I want to be famous designer. I like it. Make me close and I promise you. Blah 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 blah.
Okay, thank you. Now, there are some things which have a quick benefit, and there are some things which have a slower benefit, a longer term benefit. The things which have the quick benefit are sense group, speaking a bit slower and pausing, because that will help your kids who want to rush to have more presence on stage and to be more captivating to the audience.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the key thing, in doing that, they will also have greater intelligibility. When a Gazan kid speaks English to another Gazan kid, they are going to be quite intelligible because they both speak a Gazan English.
Yes.
Mm.
And that's cool. That's good. We don't want to lose that. But if they speak the same Gazan English to a guy from Spain or from Russia or indeed from the UK, it doesn't follow that they will be as comfortably intelligible.
Yeah.
Now, what has to change is not particularly the accent, as I said before. maybe a little bit, one has to pay attention. But what has to change is the energy distribution across the connected speech. And these 5 steps that I've put together here will help you in your classes and your students with performances to first speak from the heart and have presence that will make people want to listen. And secondly, will help them to be comfortably intelligible. And what this means is to have a voice in the world. And what could be more important?
Nothing, I guess. Nothing is more important.
So I think we will now have a few minutes for a conversation. Just by the way, here's a little distraction to change the subject. How many words do you think were in that text? Guess.
50 words, I guess.
50?
Yeah, the previous text.
Okay. All right. Next question is, how many sense groups?
I guess about 9
6 or 7. 6 or 7. Yeah.
6 sense groups.
Next, how many syllables? Well, now look, that sounds like a crazy question, but you know 2 things. You know that there are 35 words, so you know minimum 35 syllables. And you also know a lot about English. You have a pretty good idea how many words, what proportion of words in a text are 1 syllable.
9.
So from each,
English likes 1 syllable words. So,
At least 35.
Wow. 45 syllables.
that's pretty interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, very interesting.
Now, let's have the next question, which is how many stresses?
I guess about 9 or 10, just 9 or 10. 16, my God. How can you guess?
Well, look, so that's total of 16, but of course, that's counting secondary stresses and speaker stresses. So the next question is, how many of those stresses were speaker stress?
6.
9.
Well, look, think, be careful. The number is already up there.
Yeah, from 16 then.
The number is already there.
Yeah,
6.
7 or just 7 once.
If there are 6 sense groups, probably there are 6 speaker stresses.
Yeah.
Because, you know, partly that is the point of a sense group. It has a focal stress. It's true that there can be sense groups with 2 speaker stresses. That is possible, but usually 1. Okay, so that means 10 secondary stresses. That means 29 unstresses. Now, this mathematics is quite interesting, because actually this tells you all about the energy distribution in a piece of English text. It's a different way for kids and students to look. How interesting. 35 words, 45 syllables, of which 29, that's like 3/4 of them, are unstressed, seriously unstressed. And only 10 of them have a secondary stress, and only 6 of them really have a meaning stress, that is the intonation.
Yeah.
This tells something, a new story about a text. Of those unstresses, 10 schwa, in this case is 8 of I, and 11 others.
Wow.
Very often you'll find that the number of schwa is more than that. It's quite often 50%, 60%. Here, 30%.
How much time do we need such statistics for Macbeth or Hamlet?
Sorry. That sounded interesting. Say it again, please.
Say it again.
Okay. How much time do we need to make such statistics and numbers for Macbeth or Hamlet or Othello? Maybe years?
You're too far from the microphone. I got the first bit. How much time?
Okay, she's just comparing this simple text with Macbeth. So
How much time?
how difficult it will be. Yeah.
Well, look, actually, when you look at great actors on screen or on plays, and you look at Shakespearean actors, what they are doing is this. They are taking... I don't think we should look at them. It's too complicated. Let's take something simpler.
Yeah.
Okay. Look, there's my blog.
Yeah.
This app, one version, this is free. The version 1 is free. Pronunciation charts are free. I'll bring them. Look, Gaza, March 2019. I hope.
Okay.
This is the app, which is free, and you can use it on a smartphone. Sounds, the words, and you can do speaking, listening, reading, and writing. British English, American English, listen, read, write, speak. If you've got a smartphone, you can get this app for free. Okay, let's go to stop share. We have a few minutes, maybe.
Yeah.
Please ask any questions or make any comments that you would like.
Does anybody want to start, or just me? I'm just thinking how this is new for teachers and for all of us, but I guess for the students or for the kids, is it enough to just give them a good model and then they can speak from the heart?
It takes time, and when I come, if I come in March, I hope to demonstrate with some of your kids what can be done immediately and quickly, and what we can sow the seed, but actually it's going to take weeks or months.
Yeah,
but
I guess, yeah, dealing with the teachers or giving tips for the teachers, and this will be reflected in a way or another on the students. So I'm not talking about the drama, or we need this in just to improve student speaking in general, inside the class, outside the class, in drama or wherever they, because this is a problem.
This is like a more of a review of the text. We're having another angle to look at the text as well, and they speak it from the heart.
Is it, sorry to interrupt, is it possible to come close to the microphone? I just hear an echo.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for such a fabulous lecture.
Okay,
and
cool.
I'd like to say that this is a new perspective, or I mean an angle to look at the text from. So like we, for example, as teachers, we like just pronounce and read the text. I mean, with the stress, but I mean, it's not from the heart, as you mentioned before.
Yes.
So this is like a new methodology to teach. I mean, liking the text itself, having the feeling of each word, I mean, the meaning itself, how could we distribute it? I mean, this is like really an amazing one. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, what I'm saying is you perhaps can't do this with every single text, but we should, and maybe step 5, speaking from the heart, is going to be difficult with some of the texts that you have in course books because they have no real meaning for the student.
Yeah.
But the technical side, steps 1 to 4, can be done. And certainly step 1, sense grouping, step 2, stress, and step 3, speaker stress and word stress. Steps 1 to 3 should be done a little bit with any text, not with every paragraph, but with one sentence. Because otherwise, what's the point? What's the point in learning English if you're not intelligible?
Yeah, this is the point. Yeah.
I'm exaggerating just to make this point. I'm speaking in exaggeration, but even so, you want to be free to speak from the heart, not battling with comprehension.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we need lots of work here on this point. So
Well, You do, we do, everybody does, because it's neglected. We seem to think that if we have the right words in the right order, everything will look after itself, but it's not true.
Mm-hmm. I guess at least we should start doing this when teaching poems. We have poems in
Can you say closer to the microphone?
I think we should use this methodology when teaching poems, English poems in our textbook. I think in the 90th grade, it means it likes giving a soul to the spirit to the poem, and then it comes to life. So this is a good way to start teaching poetry and poems in our curriculum.
Did you get what Shams was trying to say?
I heard some of that. Could you summarize it, Rida?
She says that poems inside the curriculum is a good opportunity for starting practicing this methodology, just grouping and sensing the words. And so it is a good opportunity to start with improving students' pronunciation.
That's right. Poems is a very good example of a good place to start, yes. And if I can just respond to a question earlier, yes, I would demonstrate this to the class, but more important is getting the class to do this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, when they do it, they'll do it a bit messily, not as I want quite. Never mind. Let me try to scaffold the steps so that they at least have the sense group and that they at least have one of the stresses. Let me play with stresses so they get the feeling of slowing down to lengthen a syllable and speeding up to disappear a syllable. But when they disappear, they have to speak quietly. This is the weird thing. Volume and speed, they go opposite. The faster, the quieter.
Mm-hmm.
The slower, the louder. That's how stress and unstress works.
Yeah.
It's kind of counterintuitive. What else would you like to ask about or say?
Well, I guess this is a deep topic to talk about, and generally speaking, as teachers, we need training on that. So to start with teachers, and when the teachers are confident and comfortable teaching this, they can do it with the students. So I think we have a to-do list, so we're making use of your visit in March to have training for the teachers. This is very important.
This is like a challenging.
Yeah, it is a challenging topic for all of us. So it's a starting point to start with the teachers.
It's challenging, but it's a delightful challenge because it is helping us to be more human.
Yeah, so this is a priority.
And to express ourselves.
Yeah. So make sure that you have enough rest before coming to Gaza in March, so you'll have lots of work. So anybody wants anything?
We think in March, inshallah.
Inshallah, it's coming in March to I'm not sure about the schedule, but I guess we have now a clear idea about how to make the max benefit of your visit.
If I come in March, I don't know how the schedule will be, but I would do what we've done today with a group, but I would do other exercises that prepare for it first. So we would probably need a couple of hours, and it doesn't matter if it's working with a group of teachers or working with a group of students or both, whichever is good for your program. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
but a session would be a couple of hours to get several exercises which you can then use yourselves all the time, every day, for all of your lives.
So that's amazing.
I think students will do better education.
The kids will be easier. It will be easier for the kids to grasp all this. Yeah. So finally, I can't say how thankful we are for this amazing session. Thank you very much. Suzanne says, "Where's the stress in your?"
Where's the what?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Where should we put the stress? Thanking you.
He spoke from the heart.
Yeah, I'm just speaking from my heart.
To practice that as well with our kids and
thank you very much. That was amazing and really important.
Yeah.
A good way to convey the message correctly.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be working with you, and thank you for coming together this morning. It's a great opportunity to meet you and begin to get to know you. I wish you well with in the future, and hope to see you in the new year.
Yeah, and can't wait to see you in March.
Happy Teachers Day.
And happy Teachers Day for everybody and for you.
Palestine.
Yeah, because it's the Teachers Day here in Palestine.
Today?
Yeah,
Yes,
today is the Teachers Day.
Well then, let me say Happy Teachers Day.
All of you. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you from everyone here. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. How nice to meet you all.
Thank you very much, Adrian. Thank
Okay.
you. Yeah. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.